There is no one that became someone of renown that does not have a story. A lot of Christians, they receive words of prayers, words of blessings, they fast. You see many of them, they are fasting for several weeks and all of that. And it looks like the only promotion they ever get is in church.
If you're someone that struggles with sleep, take something that will help you stay awake. Sit down on your laptop, open it, you will find something.
You know, a lot of times, we have this notion of heaven is the goal. Do you know that you will only be in heaven for 7 years?
I think specifically, this particular issue, it's a very dicey issue and it's going to trigger a lot of persons because...
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Pastor Alex, and you're welcome to the very first episode of Real Talk with Pastor Alex. I'm so excited about this podcast because I was telling someone that I preach virtually every Sunday, but because I'm in church and I'm on the altar, and because of maybe what I am communicating, there is an extent to which I can be expressive. And I would explain that shortly. But this podcast is going to be an unfiltered, righteously unfiltered space where we talk about things, real conversations, basically, right? And, you know, the guests I'm going to be having on this podcast are people that will say it as it is in righteousness, right? The fact that you're saying it as it is does not mean that you should become raw or, you know, bad in your communications. But definitely it's going to be a wonderful time. And you'll be able to relate with the things we are going to say here, I assure you. All right, so you're welcome to the very first episode of Real Talk with Pastor Alex. And I'm not here alone, of course. In fact, you most likely will be hearing less of me. But I'm here with a very wonderful and amazing young individual, remarkable leader who is a growth marketer and the chief revenue officer of Core 8 Media. And I have here with me in the person of Victor Linus. Amazing, amazing guy. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Applause, applause, applause. All right, now we're going to be talking about something that you would love. I'm not exactly able to put a topic to it, but it is going to encompass balancing faith with works. You know, the Bible tells us that faith without works is dead. In fact, the apostle went on to say, show me your works and I will tell that you have faith. Meaning that one of the greatest expressions of faith is in the doing. Faith in itself is a doing thing, right? It's an action thing, you know. And today we have a lot of Christians that don't exactly understand the balance. Some of them are too extreme in the area of prayers, attending church services, doing all the beautiful and amazing spiritual activities, while the skill is way, 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 way low with respect to the corresponding actions they are taking in other aspects of their lives. And to an extent, this somehow brings reproach or some form of not reproach, actually. It brings some form of backlash to them and to the Christianity that they profess, to the Jesus Christ that they profess, right? And if we read scriptures, we look at the words of our Lord Jesus Christ, we understand his stand, we know what he stood for and what his communications were. So basically today, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be having a real conversation, talking about how, as a Christian, you can be a Christian through and through, you know, with your faith rigid, your spiritual life intact, and yet in the world, whether in the business world or whatever area you get to deal with people, you are still at the top of your game. And yet your faith, your spirituality is not compromised, right? And listen to me, it's not too early for you to start this journey. You don't need to, maybe you're a student, you're watching this. You don't need to wait till you're a graduate. It doesn't matter what level you're at. This will be very relevant to you, all right? So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, to hit the ground running, I'm going to just go over to my guest here. So, Victor, tell me, faith and works, what is the balance? And like I said, it's a real conversation, so we're going to have real stories. So you tell us um some of your experiences, tell us about your life, tell us about your story, tell us about um practical things that you can point to on how you've been able to balance your walk with the Lord, your faith, with other very important aspects of your life. The funny thing is this: you can't actually separate, for a Christian, you can't actually separate the other part of his life from his faith, because your faith actually should find expression into every other thing you do. The advantage we have in the person of the Holy Spirit and in the message that we have in the gospel should be seen in your job, should be seen in your place of work. Otherwise, you never really truly believed, and maybe you never really had faith. Maybe you had something else. So, Victor, talk to us. Tell us. I know I've said quite a lot, but just fire.
Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. For me, specifically, the idea of balancing faith and works has always boils down to me mimicking who God really is, and the character of God. And the character of God is a productive God, and God is he does not like wastage. He does not like to be mediocre. He does not like to, as great and powerful as he is, he has standards that he wants us to hit.
Absolutely.
And as a Christian, it tells you that even God is omnipotent, that can use his mighty power to create whatever he wants, still has standards that he wants us to reach, still has standards that he holds even the angels on to. That's exactly why Satan fell. Because if Satan didn't do something that was like, God could have just spoken to change Satan's character, but he held him. There was a standard that you have to attain. So as a Christian, as you operate both physically and spiritually, you have to have a standard, and your standard should be reference to God. But most Christians nowadays don't even know where their reference point starts from. So they are just Christians that are just floating, or they are just, they're just existing based on either hype, either based on farming, either based on lack of direction. Like, there are some Christians that are following some men of God, not because they have convictions, it's because they don't there's nothing else that they can do. They don't have any direction. So there's no self-revelation of who really God is. And as such, makes them not even understand what they are doing. And it's like a student in school that just cram a textbook to go write an exam. That's the way a lot of Christians are living their life. So there's no blueprint, there's no end goal. But a student in school that knows that he needs to read to become an engineer, there's how an engineer that will change the world. There's how he positions himself.
Absolutely.
Why those are just in the class because they want to just go to the next class. There's also how they prepare themselves. So a lot of Christians they fall in those buckets. Some are just following people because they don't have direction. Some are just, like I already said, they are just farms in. They just like how he looks. And you see that there is no base to their conviction. And when life happens to them, you see their faith falling.
Absolutely.
As even the Bible said that if your faith fails in the day of adversity, it means your faith is weak.
In fact, a translation says you're a weak specimen. and it connects to what you just said. You just said that God holds us to certain standards, and that he made us in his image. He expects us to replicate certain things. So we are specimens, in God's divine plan. So he expects us to function in a certain level of productivity, and when we don't function in that level, it appears such a person is a weak specimen. I remember, I think I was sharing on a message at a certain time, and I was talking about planning and how it is that planning is one of the highest forms of faith. Of course, it doesn't end with planning. You have to execute. When, for example, you go to church and words of blessings, proclamations of grace, favor, abundance, increase are released, and you receive it and you shout, Amen. Question is, what next? You hear people saying that, God will do it. Okay, God has done it. He has given you the words. He has given you the blessings. So question is, what next? He dwells in the realm of the spirit. He put us here in the earth to bring the realities of the spirit into the earth. The way we do that is to bring the realities of the spirit into the systems of the world. How can you do that successfully if you don't play in the systems of the world? I said that to say this. When I was sharing that message, I was saying how it is that a lot of Christians, they receive words of prayers, words of blessings, they fast. You see many of them, they are fasting for several weeks and all of that. And it looks like the only promotion they ever get is in church. So the guy is a cell leader or is a leader in church or a worker in church. And after his 6 months of prayer and fasting, the only promotion that ever happened was inside church. In his workplace, he almost lost his job. Or he has almost lost his job. He's irrelevant, insignificant. And yet, he just fasted 6 months, praying and fasting. He has become skinny. And when he was done praying, the only thing that we can measure that happened was that they gave him new church to pastor. Is that what God wants? Jesus Christ did not say you are the light of heaven. Neither did he say you are the light of the church. He said you are the light of the world. After you've generated so much intensity in being a light, take it to the world and shine there. That is what Jesus Christ said. So, but why is it that we have a lot of believers today that are, and the funny thing is that it will come back to haunt even that spiritual life that you have. Because you will start feeling like you are not productive. You will start feeling like, okay, all these prayers that I've been praying, to what end? I have been praying for 5 years. To what end? Now, of course, primarily, I've often said that prayer is not about what you get from God, it's about what you become in God. Primarily, what God is interested in is in the capacity you are building in the realm of the spirit. But we should be able to see measurable progress and expressions in your daily life, in your relation with your fellow man, in your business, in your job, in your contribution to nation building, in your environment. The difference must be clear. So, tell me, you've been able to prove some of these things that I'm saying. You've been able to take the message over the years, take the word of God, the impactations of the Spirit, and replicate it in your world. You've dealt with people from different parts of the world in the work that you do. Can you share with us some of your experiences and tell us give us some practical stories and practical realities that you've applied some of these things that I've said to?
Okay, thank you again. So for me specifically about the whole idea of merging faith and works, for my experience has really been amazing because there's something I wrote down that a lot of Christians they have fallen for this trap of what's the word? What is it? That is the phrase I use. The mediocrity hidden in contentment. So a lot of them have been sold an ideology of you have to you God is everything, like God is your all, but nobody completes the equation of what does that mean. So they sell your idea that forget about every other thing, focus on God.
Don't have a plan for your future.
Yeah,
don't plan about God. God has you covered.
You now realize that it's that statement, in as much as it feels like you are. It sounds spiritual.
Yeah.
But you see a fault in it because it's antichrist.
Yes.
It's really antichrist because when I see those statements, I am seeing agenda. Either sometimes those that communicate those stuff are being ignorant and they just communicate their personalized dealings to their fellow members or their fellow friends or whoever they have any sphere of their influence. So they communicate that, and over the year it builds this ideology of just give it all, just God is your all, just that there's reward. And I'm like, and you're looking at how the character of God functions. That's not how God thinks.
Let me cut you. A lot of times we have this notion of heaven is the goal. Do you know that you will only be in heaven for 7 years? Just in case you don't know. Let me just newsflash. The heaven that you are saying is the goal. You're only going to be there for 7 years. After which you will come back to this world for 1,000 years where Jesus will reign. It tells you something. God is particular about the dealings of the world. Question is this: what are your contributions?
Yeah.
So when we are thinking about eternity, a part of eternity, just a small portion, is in heaven. The most of it, or at least a good percentage of it, or at least 1,000 years out of it, is going to be here. So question is this: if you've not built competence in certain areas, how can God find expression to your world?
Yeah.
You know,
The world we are coming back to is a spiritual. It's not going to be a spiritual world. It's going to be a physical world.
mm-hmm,
So it means God is a God of structure.
absolutely.
So if God is if you're going to come back after 1,000 years into the world, we're not going to start flying like demons or just flying like angels. There are still going to be protocols.
Absolutely.
And it means that if you were irrelevant in this world, you will still be irrelevant in the world to come. So it shows that God is interested in people that have competence. And if you look at the Bible, it's everybody whoever God chooses is a competent person.
And if the person did not even have competence,
Yes.
eventually he would have competence.
He eventually has competence.
Take a cue from Gideon. I like to give Gideon as an example. The Bible tells us when God met him, he was hiding somewhere threshing flour because he was running away from the Midianites who had been oppressing them. And when God met him and God called him, "O Gideon, mighty man of valor," he was looking left and right. Maybe they were talking to someone else, but he was the one. And God said that God told him there and then that he was going to use him to extricate the Israelites from the oppression of the Midianites. And there and then Gideon started questioning God. He said, "Me?" He said, "My family is the smallest in the whole of Israel. And Israel currently is being oppressed by the Midianites. And I am the least in my family." But God insisted and said he was going to use him. Let us look at the story down the line. Even before the victory, that same Gideon was able to gather thousands of people, although God cut it down. But even after that, what happened? At the end of Gideon's life, he had sons, he had daughters, he became the mightiest man, he became the judge in Israel. Because God is not going to leave you incapacitated, even if he meets you that way. It tells you the mind of God. Think about David. Before God anointed David, David was already being trained in the backside of the desert. And I dare say that if David did not have a resume, not only would God not have created the opportunity for him to meet a Goliath, he would not have even been able to plead his case or present reasons as to why he should be given the opportunity to take down Goliath. But he had killed a lion, he had killed a bear, and he did those things at the backside of the desert when he was being trained by God.
Yeah, so rolling back to my own personal experience and the way I've been able to, engage my world with the investment of my personality and also significantly apply the law of faith. It has been amazing because I remember back in the days where I started my digital career as a freelancer, it didn't look like it. It didn't really look like it. And I knew I needed a breakthrough. And I just knew I needed to change my life. But I didn't know how. But when I go to church and I'm listening to my pastor preaching about how we need to take over the world, how we need to win souls for God, how we need to save souls all over the world, how we need to do amazing stuff for the gospel, instantly, that triggered a conviction within me. And it created a base in my heart that, okay, it means if this is what God is interested, it means he's interested in funding it.
Absolutely.
And if this is what God is interested, it means by default, I don't have to struggle with the idea of whether my goals and visions will be a success. It's already there. That's what he cares about. And I took that knowledge like that, as childish as I thought. It was so crazy that sometimes I'll be walking home from a Wednesday service with my bag, and I'll just be walking on my street, and I'll just be shouting, "Oh my God, I'm so rich." And some people will be walking around me, they'll just turn and look at it, say, "This boy is mad," or something. Then I'll just laugh because it was looking like I felt it real because my pastor preached so much about what God wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that means if I just do what I need to do, it's going to be a success.
Yeah.
So instantly, faith was ignited.
Mm-hmm.
And I took it as a child, year in, year out. I kept doing what I needed to do. I kept going and going and going. When I'm in front of a client talking, that conviction is just reading in my head. Like, it's instantly what happened to David and Goliath. I'm very sure that's what he used to play, where God is like, he needs to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, you have to do something, because your matter has to be a success.
Yeah.
So I took it, I deluded myself to understand what God needed to do at that time. And I connected my work, my career, everything about me practically was connected to that vision. And by default, I could see the hand of God moving really quickly. The first iPhone I ever used in my entire life was a client that sent it to me. I've never saved money to buy a phone. And I see those expressions. I'm like, okay, this is God being interested about me. Mm-hmm. You jump on some conversations and you are mentioning a particular, as far back as 2016, I remember asking a client to pay me $4,000 for a particular project. Like $4K now is a lot of money, but 2016, $4K then. Mm-hmm. And the client paid the money that year. So I know what's up. So when you see those kind of things, you know that what did I even know? And to give you exact, when I started freelancing work in digital marketing, basically, I didn't know what I was doing. Like if you attempt to design a website, I just go to another website, copy this text and paste. Okay, I like this picture. Let it do. Okay. And I will carry that work and give them, and they will be like,
sorry to cut you. There were several of you in church listening to the same thing. When you started this, your freelancing work, what prompted you to start it? Why did you start? And while you started, there were some others who were still there, and all of you will still come to church and pray in tongues and listen to the message and be inspired.
I think it's convictions. I was convicted with the message of taking the gospel of Christ all over the world. And that conviction drove my faith.
And the faith was what prompted your action.
Listen to me. Actions.
If you are not acting, you don't have faith. Let me break that down. I'm not talking about...
So it was like, for me, it was actually, I think I gave one testimony one time. I was saying that it was like a hack. Mm-hmm. I had to put God on his toes. So my faith was putting God on his toes, that this boy has to make money. Like
now the thing is this. I will tell you this. Faith is action. What that means is this, and in fact, not just action, corresponding action in line with your expectations. So let's say you are a young believer and you've been hearing maybe things said, God is going to do this, God is this, God is that. But you are in a country like Nigeria, for example, where by default, if you're not born into certain kinds of families, you're already disadvantaged. What then do you do? He said that he started out freelancing. So, if you've not been prompted to pick up something to do, you don't have faith. Did you hear what I just said? If you have not been prompted to get busy with something.
I think it's just called mere excitement.
Exactly. You are just excited. You are just agitated. You're just, yeah, exactly. That's the word. You're just excited. Just like the parable of the sower, where Jesus Christ talked about some people who, when the seed falls into the ground, it was talking about how it is that when they receive the word, they are excited, but then the enemy comes and steals the word. Yeah, and then they are not better than the way they were before they came. That is what happens to a lot of people. And you have to draw the thin line between excitement and faith. They are not the same thing.
A lot of people are just vibing.
They are just vibing. Some of them even have very key things to say, very nice quotes, to say. Someone rightly said that you don't know until you have done. Until you have practicalized what you say you know, you don't actually know. You think you know, but there is no knowing without doing. So you don't have faith until you have gone to pay for that course. And you are there diligently, you discipline yourself. And these are the things that faith introduces. It introduces discipline. It introduces devotion. It introduces Of course, you mentioned conviction. That's there. It eradicates distractions.
I feel like most people are ignorant. The reason why I say most people are ignorant is that I'm very tough for myself. And the reason why I'm very tough for myself, I'm like, if you really believe in this gospel of Jesus Christ that you believe as a Christian, if you really believe that there's a heaven, why are you the way you are? Why are you not scared to make a meaning out of that kingdom? Why are you not trying to be more? So that's why it now boils down to the fact that a lot of people don't know what they are doing.
Absolutely.
Like the ignorance is so much that it looks like that most people don't just know. And it's a very painful reality to understand and I feel like there's an atom of pride in it. Most people have pride because when I knew that I needed to be relevant to God, that became my prayer point for like 5 years. That's all. There was not, I don't know how, I've not prayed for deeper revelation with, I just wanted God to know me. To know that when God thinks, I want him to know that I exist. A lot of people, God does not even know they exist. Because they are not even convicted enough that he exists. So God does not know them. So they are just random echoes in the heavens. Just making noise. Sometimes angels used to see their voices and just like
you know what you just said is very true. I often give this example about David. Remember when David messed up a lot of times in the Bible. One of such times was when he numbered the children of Israel against God's instruction. The Bible tells us that God was angry and the word of the Lord came that he was going to kill him. And David, knowing what he knows, doing what he does best, he went and pleaded and begged and cried out and started writing all these beautiful psalms. Guess what? God said, okay, I've heard, but it was the Old Testament. There had to be death. Several thousands died for what David did. Remember when Uzziah, is it Uzziah or what's his name? When he was trying to help the ark was about to stumble. And Uzziah was trying to help the ark not stumble. And the Bible tells us that the anger of God was kindled and the guy died. Question is, on whose instruction was the ark being brought into Jerusalem? And who designed for the carriage to be like that? It was David. Why was David not punished? Why was this guy easily dispensable? Why did the thousands of people that died because of the census that David initiated, why were they that easily dispensable? It's simple. In the realm of the spirit, everyone is not equal. Everybody is not equal. Some people are easily dispensable. And I'm serious with what I just said.
Yeah, and that's what actually separates who is really a success in God.
Yeah.
And who is not really a success in God.
Yeah.
Because you can be a success, you dress with suits, tongue speaking, spirit filled. You are the one that they call emoji. Like when somebody see, they are seeing a replica of another man of God. And you realize that God don't know them. Because they have been so good in being aesthetically pleasing over the years, but no substance. And you see them, and you see I've had conversations with people, like people that I used to be like, okay, this guy should have been on point, like his life would have been set. You hear some conversation, you're like, the convictions I had 2014, a guy of 34 does not still understand. Things I was already done with 2016, and I'll ask myself, what's the difference? But over the years, they look like they were going through the path.
Yeah.
And you see them just spend years not having clarity on anything about life.
In one particular level.
And once in a while, they get breakthroughs and here and there, but it's not consistent.
Yeah.
And not like it's just because they are clueless. But they have put themselves in this pedestal so high that they can't even seek for help. That sometimes, even when I'm having those conversations, I feel shy even talking because I'm assuming you should be fine.
Yeah.
So you're like, most times it's just, and I'm like, these are literally two things. And the one thing about my life specifically was that I was not, I was, oh yes, I was under pastoral leadership and the rest, but there were some things I genuinely learned on my own.
Exactly.
There were some growth I remember back in the days, I had Jim Rohn's messages. I had a folder filled with motivational messages, mindset trainings, over 40 gig.
Wow.
What of those files on my
And
laptop?
it's possible that some of them you paid for them.
Yeah, I paid for some of them. I also got some of them for free because back in the days, I like to get stuff for free.
And you know, getting stuff for free is not as easy as some people think sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you have to lobby, you have to plead, you have to beg. And you know, there is, in the story, there is a place for persistence and consistency.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, now there are some people that may be watching this video and they are wondering, it's not like that. It's just whatever. It's who God helped, you know. Some people have been laboring. Some people are working hard. It's not by that. It's not by this one you're saying. It's not true.
No, it's not true.
Let me explain something to you. There is no one that became someone of renown that does not have a story. And you must know that at certain points, things were not exactly very rosy. But they built consistency. They built patience.
A lot of people don't like boring stuff.
Exactly. While it was boring, they stayed at it. They kept doing it. While it was not productive, while it was not producing results, while they still had to plead for people to give them money to eat, they were still at it. Because that is what faith is. There is a journey in faith. There is a journey in faith.
Me specifically, I remember back, I think around 2019, 2020, I slept on my couch for those 2 years straight. And when I say I slept on my couch for those 2 years straight, because the bed I bought, the leather was still there. I have not unboxed it. The leather was just there. It was because my workstation was just close to my couch. So when I'm done working, I mean, this is not an advice that you can do, because right now there's a better way to doing stuff. But I remember that when I'm just done working, I crash on my couch. I wake up the next morning, I take my bath, back to my desk, I crash. January to December for 2 years straight. I made a lot of money that I could afford anything I needed, but I knew where I was going. Like I knew the critical mass I needed to have hit for me to like realize that, okay, I'm comfortable. But most young people these days, they don't understand what it takes to become successful. Small 30 million, they're not looking like they are rich.
So some don't even achieve the 30 million. The thing is this. So some of them, that level that you have gotten to, that thing that you know, they are seeing the results and they admire it. And, you know, let's say you give them the opportunity to, you know, come under your canopy to learn. Some of them, 2 months, they want to start seeing the outcome. 3 months, 6 months. So when they don't see the outcome, they automatically interpret that maybe this is not for me. It doesn't work for me. 1 year, they've not seen the outcome. They feel like I'm wasting my time. You understand? And the problem with that mentality is this. Faith is not like, I remember something the man of God, Pastor Chris, said. He said, faith is the essence, not the process. So the process does not determine. Now, let me explain what that means. You may be going through a process that does not look like your outcome. That process is not a reflection of your faith. Your faith is the essence, what you want to achieve. Meaning that the process may not look good right now. Things may not look fine right now, but you are going somewhere. I like to tell my story a lot, even me as a pastor, because there are people even in pastoring, people even in leadership in the house of God that are not exactly as successful as they should be. I remembered for a period as a pastor, I was sleeping in church. I didn't have a house. I remember there was a video I posted recently. It was from church. It was just a curtain demarcating where I was sleeping from the main hall. So from church to that place, I had one very small, you know, these yellow foams, these flat ones. It was very tiny. It was flat. It was someone that had used it and left it there. That's what I was sleeping on. Now listen to me. I'm not saying that this is the prototype that you must follow. Not everyone may need to go through this. Some other persons may start out and like things will boom. But I'm just saying that this was my process. But I knew where I was going to. And no matter what I experienced, I was not going to be moved. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever price I needed to pay, I gave myself to studying, because in line with what I was doing, I'm a pastor. I gave myself to studying. Even when I would study and practicalize and put to work the principles I learned from maybe those books or the messages or even the scriptures, and it was not exactly happening at the time, I was not moved. I kept at it because the faith that I had received was too real. And I knew that on the long run, my reality will adjust to it.
Yeah.
So I was willing to put in the work. I was willing to act in accordance with what I had believed. For example, you were telling me how it is that for the first few years of your life, when you started your work as a freelancer and all of that, things were not exactly the way you expected for them to be. And you did not exactly have too many mentors, quote and unquote, to hold your hands. Like you rightly said, you had to learn many things by yourself. Can you just tell us some practical things, some real experiences, some stories, things that happened
Okay.
in that period?
So things that happened in that period was, I think I had a senior friend, which later became my boss that period. And I met him just once. Just to give you an idea, I met him just once to show me what I needed to do. And just imagine you want to learn video editing, and the only class you ever had about video editing is what is Premiere Pro. Okay, you click here, you click here, you click here. That was all I had. So it was not like I was tutored, I was mentored, and the funny thing, we had that class in his office. He was an engineer at Hit FM then. And you know how telecommunication offices are. They have to be cool because of the machine. Where in his office, I was freezing. So I could not even understand anything we learned that day. Because I wanted to leave there really quickly. So that was all the experience I had. All I was just doing was, I would do my work. I'll send to him to review. I will do my work. I'll send to him to review. Sometimes he will not even respond. Like sometimes he will not respond at all to me. And so then once I will review and I liked it, and I say, you are doing well, oh. I bet you I don't know what I was doing. All I knew was I needed to give in church, I needed to make money, I needed to do something. Those were the three things that were in my head. So anyhow, I needed to do it. Like for like 1 full year straight. Just imagine you preaching about Jesus Christ and you're just cramming what they taught you to go and preach. That was how my life was. So I was just doing what I was just seeing. I had no intuitive knowledge about marketing. There was no analytic knowledge about, okay, you do it. Like I was just vibing. But the vibing was that I was replicating stuff. Very boring. Just imagine you just doing the same stuff every single day. And when I sent it, he liked it. My confidence grew. And all I just needed was, you are doing well. A thumbs up from a distance. And miraculously, I made money with that. So I wasn't even like competent. I just had faith that I would be a success.
And you were consistent.
And I was consistent in the boring
even
stuff.
If you were not very, very sure what you were doing.
I don't even know what I was doing.
You know, that is the thing about life. Life can be very cruel, but life rewards persistence and consistency.
Most people will tell you that I'm not understanding. I'm like, you are not understanding. It does not matter. Just I told somebody recently, I think last couple of months, I said, just wake up, bath. If you're someone that struggles with sleep, take something that will help you stay awake. Sit down on your laptop, open it. You will find something. Something will jump at you. If you do that for like 2 months straight, you start getting familiar with something. It does not take rocket science for you to be productive.
Repetition is the law of depth.
It does not. And and the funny thing now, it has become so easy now that I used to tell people that when you pray to God, like the one prayer point that I've really prayed, that I've really changed my life, is me walking with the wisdom of God. When you pray and have faith, your faith should generate wisdom.
Absolutely.
And so something that worked really well with me was the wisdom of God at that point. If I needed to sow my seed I remember a practical example where I had this job scenario where the client asked for a refund. That was after paying me. And that refund was supposed to cost my account to be closed one point in time. I was working about $600 a year. Good money for me then. I ran to church, met Pastor Casey, paid the tithe of that money. that is me practicalizing my faith already.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid the tithe of that money. It took I think 1 month and a half. That issue was resolved. The 650 was my cash, or my bank account. I knew what happened. It's not normal. I understood that it was, but you see the way
And that was the wisdom of God that was peculiar to that situation.
to that situation.
You understand? It was not like somebody told you that go and do this.
Yeah, so
You get
so
in the place of prayer and
you realize
put
that
your faith to work.
You realize that when you are facing life, you don't face life as a normal human. You are not normal.
Mm-hmm.
You are a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and there are ways Christians behave.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be spiritually attuned to God for you to understand how to navigate life.
Absolutely.
So, but a lot of people are just struggling like the normal man. Like, I did not struggle like the normal man. I'm not there where I want to be yet, but I can bet you I got it easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not get it easy because I was lucky. It was the strategic wisdom of God.
Absolutely.
And right now, I used to tell people now, that young people, that if I knew what I knew now, 2016, I'll be a millionaire in multiples of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only thing I knew back then was to become a freelancer back in 2016 or 2017. If I knew that, I would have become I started my business and I begin to charge, let's say I was charging $10,000 back as 2017. Maybe I would have had 100 no's and 1 yes. And that 1 year would have opened my eye into a new world.
Absolutely.
Even if I had 1,000 no's and I had 1 yes, that 1 year would have opened my eye into a new world as far back as 2016.
Absolutely.
So by now, I would have been but most people don't understand that grace have increased.
Mm-hmm.
And there's wisdom now for you to shrink time. I can teach everything I know today in a more strategic way. I've done it. I've replicated it. People that not take the exact years of my life to achieve the similar result.
Yeah.
But most people, they don't think that way. They just come 1 week of stress.
They are tired.
They are tired. And the funny thing is that you don't really have to, I used to tell people that the same discipline that's required for you to learn marketing is the same discipline for you to learn programming. I have a programming friend, Owen. Owen is a full stack developer.
Mm-hmm.
But Owen makes more money doing marketing jobs than full stack development. That is wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So the same productivity can be replicated in different fields. It does not require, it's not, so you can't say that, this is marketing, you guys had. No, you can be a graphic designer that charges 500 naira for design and rebrand it into a graphics design company that does graphics for Fortune 500 companies. Your price have changed. So you can see a brother in church, his only job is to just do graphics. But he's not thinking global. He's thinking Pastor Icard, birthday.
You know, this thing you just said now is very important. There are two more things that I want us to talk about. Number one is the power of information.
Yeah.
Number two is avoiding complacency while you're growing. Now, let me address the first one. You see, there are times in church, I'm a pastor, so I can tell you this. There are times in church where we want to appoint maybe a new leader or promote someone or some people with some new responsibilities. And of course, we do it by the Spirit, but there are times where we are considerate. We are like, this person has been here for a long time. And because he has served for this long, you should be given the opportunity to handle this. Knowing fully well that that person does not actually have the competence required for that. And I've seen cases where we choose to go with the one that appears to have the competence, and this person ends up being lost. The person gets offended because they've been there for long. The person you are trying to appoint just came when. Of course, like I said, we do it by the Spirit, but there are times where such considerations are brought in, and there is nothing exactly very wrong with it. But the question now is this: for that person who found his or herself in a place where we are beginning to consider, should we give him or should we not give him? Should we appoint him or should we not appoint him? Should we entrust him or should we not entrust him? Because he has plateaued. Now, mind you, the person did not become like that overnight. over the years, the person was productive, but after a while, the person plateaued and just remained there. And times have come and gone. The work has progressed, the demands have increased, but we can't exactly do much with you anymore because you've just remained there. But we feel obliged because you've served for so long, you've sacrificed so much, you've been here with us through thick and thin, and so we feel like we should give it to you, but at the expense of the whole team becoming docile. Now, in such a case, how do we help such people? Because many Christians are in that category, and they take that same attitude to the world. That is why in their places of work, they are not as relevant as they should be. They are not as productive as they should be. Some of them even lose their jobs because unconsciously they found themselves in that situation where they know. It's just like someone who comes to church. He does not know how to really sing, but he likes to work. He just wants to serve, which is something we encourage. I want to serve in the choir. Or someone who does not know how to handle media equipment, but wants to serve in the media team or technical team. What I've observed for some years is you find such people, 3 years have gone, they are still the same way they were when they first came. Brother, why are you singing like this? Pastor, that's how my voice is. God understands, he will accept it like that. But you are in the choir. Do you know that if you gave yourself, you applied yourself to learning, to being trained, you can become better? The problem with that is, I often say, church is one of the best places to train someone for life. The thing is this, if you can learn to work on yourself and improve yourself in the service that you render in the house of God when no man is paying you, in your place of work, that same attitude, you will take it there. Such that on the long run, you are able to grow through the ranks, not just because you've been there working with them for a long time, but because you have the competence, you are developing yourself. AI has come in. You have learned how to use AI automation. You are not waiting to be told. You're not waiting for the company to train you. You are incorporating all these things. You are asking questions. Yeah. What do you have to say about this?
I think specifically this particular issue, it's a very dicey issue and it's going to trigger a lot of persons because there are two things. That particular character has a root. And that particular character is a root from upbringing. Yeah, is a root from upbringing, and it has a lot to do with how the person grew up, the environment the person grew up. And I can say categorically that most parents have not done a good job in raising children to become better. And for example, I grew up in a very soft home. I was never stressed growing up. But there was this idea that I have to be part of the top 1%. Mm-hmm. My mom somehow, I don't know how she did it. Maybe it's from the wisdom of God, but I was not under pressure I wasn't under any pressure to be like a success. But somehow, every day before I go to school, she's kneeling me in the ground, praying for me, telling me, you are the best in your class, you are the first child. So when I'm going, those are the things that are ringing in my ear. As far back as school days, if I'm not number one, I'm number two. I used to bully myself to tell you how amazing, I don't want to use the wrong word. Even in dance competition, I cannot dance, but I have to just be there. You will have to remove me. But there was this,
you always wanted to show up and be a part of,
As far back as nursery too. So there was a consciousness that was in me. Even in normal match pass, they used to always sack me. I used to be part of the people that used to go, but I must be there. Mm-hmm. And I used to feel bad when I'm not being picked.
There was an attitude.
And it was an attitude. The only one I was excelling was school.
And that is the attitude every Christian should have.
Yeah, and I realized that and thank God it happened to me. So I remember I took it from my primary school. I left the primary school to another one. I changed school. I went to that school and I became the second person in class. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. So I see that when I go there, I try to look for who is my rival. Mm-hmm. And I try to want to cut everybody and try to become. So I see it happen from nursery school. I remember when that exact dance one we're miming Brenda Fassie's song. Mm-hmm. That graduation, they don't pick me, I cried. But I now went to another school. I was the second person in class. I was so happy when my first guy was the guy. I think I was in primary 5. So I was in primary 4, and they took the guy to go and write common entrance so that he would go to JS1 because he was too smart, according to him. That he became the star of the class. It's not good. Yeah, I was not battling with another girl. Like there was constantly, I was always a competitive person.
Yeah.
I remember that girl, Stella. This is like my 5. This is me thinking how I want to eliminate your positions. As far back as nursery school. Same thing, when I went to secondary school, my JS1, I think I took 5th. I don't really have to be the first class, but what happened? I took 5th. I was feeling bad. I realized that all those that took first were friends. So we had JS1 A, B, and C. So what happened was since all of them are friends, they're copying the same thing, so they somehow passed. And I realized these guys are not like that smart. And I said, if I read more, I can pass them. And I knew who was their source. First term JS2, I took second. Everybody was shocked. I became friends with that their guy. All of them started drifting from him. JS3, JS2 first term second, JS2 second term second, JS2 third term second. Up till whenever we stopped giving grade, I was the number 2 guy. The only first time I took first in my class, the other guy almost died. And I realized that the difference between why I became second was not because I was too smart. It was just because I realized that a lot of people are lazy.
Yeah. So you took advantage of the weaknesses.
Yes. I just found that.
And you know, this would bring me to the final thing. I mean, we've spent about an hour talking. This would bring me to the last thing.
So let me just conclude it. Let me just conclude on the point. So you realize that it's an upbringing thing. That laziness transcends.
Yeah.
And you can't really help them.
Except by the word of God.
Yes. Except and now they have had in contact with the Holy Spirit. We are expecting them to
become better.
That same laziness plays even in their spiritual life.
And that becomes even more dangerous.
So they don't even have the discipline to even seek God properly. They just vibe. Okay, we are doing this. They just dress well. They just look the part.
Yeah.
So it just because all the guys that were very good in my class, they were like the most coolest guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was not the coolest kid in my class. I was just good at what I was good at. But they look it. But
and I mean, if God cannot help you, who can?
Yeah. So when you come to where you now meet the Holy Spirit and you met the Holy Spirit, instead of you to like giving yourself fully, you now see that another situation that happens. The issue of pride sets in. I feel like for you to meet God and not be transformed is pride.
Absolutely.
You cannot be genuinely broken around God and not have breakthrough.
Absolutely.
So they have an issue. They want to look it. They have an ego to protect. They have a sense of self. I'm trying to look for the right word to use. There's something like their self-esteem is at stake. So they already did it in life. They look the part.
Mm-hmm.
They dress the part.
Mm-hmm.
They speak the part. They're even more articulate.
Yeah.
And they can pray for 9 hours. Like they can go for 12 hours. And you see that, like, but yes, you are doing that. Great. But me, for example, my own practical self, I know how sucking I get for just 2 minutes with prayers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a switch just happened, and it just reflects the state of the, and I know, and that's the only advantage. I can be in the middle of something chaotic.
Yeah.
And my flip is almost instant. I don't need to force.
So for you.
So 2 minutes is a lot.
Yeah, for you, prayer is not performative.
Yeah.
It is really productive.
Yeah, it's very productive. I feel like I'm talking to somebody real.
Yeah, it is really productive.
So it's the state of the heart that produces that.
Absolutely.
But them, they want to pray and they want to form that the prayer has worked. So they have to be like,
you know, people like that, they don't exactly want success. They want what looks like success.
Yeah, it's the brute force everything.
Yeah, because true success requires input. It requires work. Now, in rounding off, I talked about information. Something the Spirit of God told me. He said, and I believe you've heard this thing from different people, but when the Holy Ghost tells you again and he impresses it on your heart, you know that it's very serious. He said, what separates the rich from the poor is information. A man can say, oh, I've been working hard, I've been doing this, I've been lobbying, I've been pushing, and it's not really working. There is a place of grace. And one of the first things that grace gives you access to is information. Because when you have access to information, everything changes. I was talking to someone some time ago, and someone called me some time ago and was telling me about a job opportunity, and the person was describing how it is that this is what you do, this is what you do. It sounded too good to be true. Based on my own experiences. Okay, all you need to do is this. You don't even have to pay any money. Just do this, and you'll be receiving this amount of money every week. Like play like joke. I said, well, let me just try it. Let it not look as though, And I tried it, and it worked. I was like, what? This thing is happening in this life, in this world, in this country, and people are still suffering. People are still in penury. And, the Lord was impressing it on my spirit that is why when you pray and you hear a word from God or you receive divine enablement, take actions. Because when you put yourself out there, you expose yourself to information. Buy that course. Take that training. Submit yourself under someone to train you. Be humble. Pay for the course. That money you are going to use to buy shawarma, save it. Pay for no matter how little. That 5K you are going to plead with someone to give to you that you intend to use to do sub or to do whatever. Use the money to go.
The another sad part about that is that some people say they will prefer to look good than to use the money to buy a course. Yeah, like that crowd is there, and that's a crowd that you cannot really help.
Yeah.
You go to their space is looking wow. Yeah. How are they getting that money? They're either billing their uncles or their aunties.
And you know that this is one of the reasons why we have very terrible societies.
Back in the days where we're trying to do freelancing on Upwork, there's something called Connect where you have to buy it like a token for you to be able to bid for jobs. And I know how it took us heaven on earth to buy that Connect. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember the very first job I got was like $12. And the next job, interestingly, the next job I had on Upwork was like, I think I made $375 from $12. From $12. And before I got that Connect, sorry, sir.
Sorry. Come again.
Yeah, I was saying that from $12 to $375, and the Connect I bought was $12 Connect. That money I made, what I used to now buy the Connect again, because I don't have, if I withdrew that money, now I would have not seen money to buy more Connect. And you could see that we struggled to even buy tools. But right now, you see some children, they have privileges. Some are even receiving a stipend of 200K, 300K.
Yeah.
But they want to live the big boy lifestyle. The next immediate thing that they resort to is fraud.
Exactly.
Especially for the guys. And the girls is the one soft life. And you're like, you have all it takes in your hand to be a success. Mm-hmm. Things I did not have then. You have it in your hand. You have access to finances that can get you a good equipment, or you have at least some level of resources. Mm-hmm. Back in the days, I had none. I used to
sometimes that is a problem.
I used to go and charge my laptop in a dry cleaning shop. When they see me coming, they're off their gen. So I have to sit down there until somebody brings clothes for ironing before I have that window of time to do what I needed to do. That was what I was doing until I was able to afford fuel. And how much was fuel? The 200 naira. I could not still buy fuel. So it tells you that a lot of them have friends that are even rich that can support them.
Uncles, aunties,
friends.
And it's easy to get these monies to buy shoes, to buy all that, but they're not willing to invest in themselves.
In themselves. They are just vibing around, just making wrong moves. And you're like, really? They can feed. They can be fine girl. They can be fine boy. I even had a friend of mine. I'm sure when he watched podcast, he'll be angry at me. I randomly heard the gist. It's not a gossip, it's a gist that he used 40 million naira to buy a car. And he's working, funny enough. But I'm asking myself, why will a young man make that kind of decision? Okay, yes, it's good, it's your money, your choice, but you now realize that most young people prefer to look good than to build something that
And
lasts.
the reason why that is an issue is if you compare that with respect to maybe his periodic revenue, it does not make sense,
Yes,
right?
it does not make sense. It does
So,
not
so
make sense.
all in all,
Even like if you can't afford something more than 3 times, you shouldn't buy it.
yeah.
But most young people, you can't have. If you ask them for 5K and they don't have now, but check their phone, they're using iPhone 17 Air. How did they do it? Because they save money to buy it.
You know, someone said that if you cannot replicate it again and again and again, it was never fate. If it happened by chance, it was not fate. Oh, I went to the ATM and there was no money there, but I spoke in tongues and I just pressed something and money came out. Go and do it again. And again. And again. If you can't replicate it, it was not faith.
Yeah.
Faith is a principle.
It's practical.
Yeah, it's practical. It's a principle that you can apply in your world. And you know, to just round all of this up, we've said many things. I can't even do a run back, but I believe you've been following. It is very important the kind of information you get. Position yourself to get the right information. Invest in information. That is what will set you apart and give you the advantage. So, if you really believe the prophecies and the words, and you've really received faith, we should see it in corresponding actions. And the corresponding actions is not only your confessions and your affirmations, or you dressing like it, or talking like it, or walking like it. All that is good. But we should see it in how serious, how diligent, how disciplined you are in all the other important affairs of your life, in your job, in your business, in whatever it is that you do. It must be very evident that you really believed, right? This is real talk. And I hope this was as real as possible. Let us know in the comment section what you think, and ensure that you subscribe to this page. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Victor, for
Thank you so much for having me.
joining us today. We're going to see you again in the next episode. Bye.